Imagine sitting in a room full of people and suddenly someone asks us, "So what do you really know about sex?" For a moment, everyone looks around nervously, smiles politely, and maybe even giggles. And the truth is, most of us, no matter how old we are, carry myths, half truths, or outdated ideas about sex that shape how we think, feel, and act. These myths sneak into our bedrooms, into our relationships, and into our self worth. And the saddest part, they often rob us of joy, intimacy, and connection. So let's be honest with each other. Sex is a part of life. It's not just about reproduction, it's not just about pleasure, and it's not just about performance. It's about connection, communication, and discovery. But somewhere along the way, people started attaching fear, shame, and silence to something so deeply human. That's how myths were born, myths that continue to echo in our culture, in our schools, even in our families. And when we don't question them, they can quietly control us. One of the most common myths is that sex has to look a certain way to be real. Maybe you've heard it, real sex means penetration. That idea has been sold to us in movies, magazines, and locker room talk. But here's the truth: sex is not a one-size-fits-all act. It can be kissing, touching, exploring, or simply being close in ways that feel good to both people. To think it only counts when a very specific act happens is to erase so many forms of intimacy and pleasure. You get to define what sex means in your own life, and it doesn't have to follow a script written by someone else. Another myth: that men always want sex and women always want love. This one is so deeply rooted in stereotypes that people often accept it without question. But humans are not stereotypes. People of all genders can crave intimacy, adventure, closeness, or comfort. Desire doesn't belong to one gender, and love doesn't belong to another. The reality is far more colorful, far more beautiful, and far more human. And when we drop those myths, suddenly we give ourselves permission to ask, what do I really want? What do I enjoy? What makes me feel alive? And then there's the myth that good sex just happens. That if two people are really meant to be together, their bodies will automatically sync like magic. Hollywood sells us that idea every single day. But real intimacy takes communication, patience, and vulnerability. The best sex often comes not from guessing, but from asking, listening, and learning. It's about being willing to say, does this feel good? Or can I try this? Or even, I'm not sure what I like yet. That kind of openness turns sex into a journey instead of a performance. And isn't that so much more exciting? Here's one more: the myth that your value is tied to your sexual history. Too many people are told they're too much if they've had many partners, or not enough if they haven't. Think about how much harm that does. How many people carry shame over something that should never define their worth? Your value doesn't come from how many people you've been with. Your value comes from being you, from the love you give, the respect you show, the curiosity you bring, and the courage it takes to be authentic. There's also this idea that pleasure is selfish, that sex should be about giving, not receiving. Especially for women, the narrative often goes, focus on his needs first. But here's the truth: pleasure is not selfish, it's a gift. When both partners feel safe, satisfied, and seen, the entire experience becomes richer. Saying yes to your own body doesn't take away from someone else. It adds to the energy, the connection, the joy. And if you've ever thought that your pleasure didn't matter, I want you to hear this: you matter. Your desires matter. Your body matters. Sometimes myths even disguise themselves as silence, like the myth that we shouldn't talk about sex because it's dirty, awkward, or shameful. But silence doesn't protect us. It keeps us confused and disconnected. Talking about sex, openly, honestly, and respectfully, is what helps us learn, grow, and love better. Imagine how different the world would be if we talked about sex with the same ease we talk about food, travel, or dreams. If kids grew up hearing that sex is natural, that consent is essential, and that pleasure is human, imagine how many people would feel less broken, less confused, and more whole. And I know some myths cling to us so tightly that they can feel almost impossible to let go of. Maybe someone told you long ago that good girls don't do that, or that real men never cry. Maybe those words burrowed into your heart. But here's the beautiful thing: you can rewrite your story. Every single one of us has the power to the old narratives and create new ones, ones that honor who we are, what we need, and how we want to love. The truth is, sex is not about perfection. It's not about living up to myths, rules, or performances. It's about connection, curiosity, exploration, and yes, sometimes awkwardness too. And that's okay. Awkward moments aren't the moments when laughter shows up, when learning happens, when intimacy deepens. There's no such thing as failing at sex if both people are learning and respecting each other along the way. So if you've carried these myths in your mind, know that you're not alone. We all have, but now you know they're myths, and myths lose their power once they're named. What replaces them is something far more beautiful: honesty and freedom, playfulness and connection. And maybe the most important thing of all is this: your body is yours. Your pleasure is yours. Your choices are yours. No myth can take that away. You deserve intimacy that feels good, love that feels safe, and relationships that reflect your truth, not someone else's story. So the next time you hear one of these myths whispered in your ear, whether from a movie, a friend, or even your own inner critic, I hope you pause and remember: sex is not about fitting into a mold. It's about living fully in your own body, sharing openly with another, and building a connection that feels right for you. And that is not a myth. That is real, that is powerful, and that is yours to claim. Thanks for watching.